Welcome to Unstoppable, where dreams turn into plans and plans turn into powerful action. Hosted by Paula Swain, financial planner, business owner, grandma, and queen of reinvention. This show is for women ready to stop surviving and start thriving. We'll laugh, we'll learn, and we'll tackle the messy, beautiful, in-between parts of life that no one really talks about, but we all live through. This is Unstoppable.
Hi, and welcome to Unstoppable. I'm Paula Swain, your host and financial planner with the Financial Center for Women. So a couple of weeks ago, we had my friend Valerie on, and we were talking about healing your gut and using your own body to heal itself. And what I really wanted to get into was menopause. So she's back. Hi, Valerie.
Hi, I'm so happy to be back.
Me too. So, and no use of the word mucus.
I did.
No, not today.
Not today.
No today.
I don't think we'll need to today. Not with this topic.
Let's hope not. That would be gross.
We'll be careful.
Oh my God, I don't know why I find that so funny. So I've been through it. I'm over it. I took the bioidentical hormones.
Okay.
But I know I have a ton of friends of all ages that are going through it. And so how do you help them?
Yes. So the interesting thing is it's not your grandmother's disease, right? So previously menopause was really not talked about and it was grandma's disease and it was just that's a silent generation, right? Is like, we're just not going to discuss it. So I'm grateful that the conversation is even happening at this point, and it is based on additional clinical studies. So we have a lot more information, which means there's more research, there's more practitioners who are focusing on the care. So I'm just grateful that the conversation is happening because it's super important.
But even though the conversation is starting to happen, women still are searching everywhere they can to get information on this subject.
Sure.
Because lots of times they go to the gynecologist and they have this conversation with their doctor and they're like, oh, yeah, you're just going through menopause,
right.
Or, you're not in it yet, or maybe you're just starting. Like, I don't want to throw any, but most of them tend to be male doctors. But
sure,
and I think a female gynecologist is a little bit more understanding, likely because she's either gone through it or knows she was. But there's so much misinformation out there, even though there's a lot of information.
Right. The challenge for women, one of the challenges certainly, is that they have a good grasp on what used to work, right? So any woman might say, oh, I know I can drop 3 pounds if I do X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. Or I know if I just do this, I'll feel better. So the challenge is that they go to their old tricks and they don't work anymore. And it's because we're not playing the same game. It's essentially trying to play Monopoly with Scrabble pieces. You're not gonna do well at that game. So learning that you can win this game, you can be successful, but you need new tools, you need new information. The things that used to work are no longer going to work.
But I think we get, because I have this conversation with my friends all the time. I don't think they understand. Like, it doesn't just one day you wake up, you're starting menopause. You start to notice things like maybe you're tired a little bit more, and they may say, "Well, let's check your thyroid," or you wake up and you're sweating, or you're a little bit more irritable. Like, everything starts to slowly trickle in, and then you're like, "Well," and then you're like, "No, it's not menopause. I'm not old enough. I'm
right."
Not, what I mean? And it really is.
Right.
And then when you start to talk about it, oh, don't take the hormones, don't do this, you need to do this. And then everybody has all this different advice. But who's right?
Right. So again, additional challenges there. If you look at the typical age range, right? So it's different all around the world in regards to what the averages are. And there are there's various contributing factors in regards to if you would have potentially start perimenopause earlier or later. But it's typically can start, and that would still be considered normal, anytime over age 35. In regards to the beginning process of perimenopause, the first signs are typically changes in the menstruation. So shorter or longer cycles, heavier or lighter. So any type of changes, that's typically one of the first signs. And then also your thermoregulation. So, right, you're starting to have hot flashes. It's very often the first signs. Or like you said, fatigue, mood issues. The challenge there is that if you think about a woman in her early 40s, right? Anywhere between maybe 38 to 48, somewhere in that range, where typically perimenopause is starting or gaining speed.
But it's not supposed to, not until you're in your 50s.
Well,
I mean, that's usually what we were told.
Used to think, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's not your grandmother's disease anymore. But typically, it's somewhere in that range. And if you think about it, what's happening in a woman's life then? She's probably trying to get to the height of her career. She's probably got kids in middle school, high school, or maybe she's even launched them off to college. She might be helping to care for an elderly parent. This is such an involved and can be overwhelming season of life for a woman. So when she feels fatigued, it's like, well, of course I feel fatigued. Of course I feel emotional. Of course I feel all the feelings that they're going to have. And so they might not acknowledge that it's actually perimenopause and changes need to be made so that they can feel their best. They just think, I have too much going on and there's so much happening with my kids and my career and right. So the timing of it is a challenge for sure.
Let's say you're a woman who is experiencing all of that. She has all the challenges that she works through on a daily basis, but yet she feels fatigued and stuff. She goes to the gynecologist. They do the blood work. Maybe her menstruation is just but it's not noticeably different, right? And they go and do the blood work. Now you're fine, but yet all of that's going on in your body, but there's no resources for you because nobody's going to acknowledge it.
So yes, that's absolutely a challenge. And like I said, I am encouraged that there are more practitioners now, myself included, who will focus on perimenopause concerns. And it's interesting that you brought up thyroid because those two things are related. So even those that maybe didn't have a thyroid conversion issue or some type of thyroid disease earlier in life, perimenopause and menopause itself can contribute to those. So you may have thought, well, I checked my thyroid's never been an issue. They've checked it a couple of times. It may be a concern then. And then the appropriate testing. So you might go to your primary care doc and some basic tests are done, but not the elaborate testing to really uncover the root cause. So there are additional challenges there in regards to finding the right practitioner, finding the right tests, and then the right information on, so what do I do about this? Because the number one symptom or complaint that a woman typically presents with is, I just don't feel like myself anymore. And they may not even be able to articulate it. I'm not interested in what I used to be interested in. I don't have the energy or desire for the things that I used to have energy or desire for. I now have cravings that I didn't used to have, right? There's just an array and they can't really pinpoint, right? It's different from having a cold. It's like, I have these symptoms and I have a cold.
Right. You don't know what's going on.
Right. You don't.
You really don't.
Right. So 80% of women in the United States, again, statistically speaking, it's different across the world, but 80% of women in the United States will experience some type of menopausal symptoms. So whether it's perimenopause or postmenopause, 80%. Of that 80%, 20% will experience what's considered life-altering symptoms, meaning their symptoms are so significant, something in their life has altered, whether it's a loss in a relationship, a loss of job, right? Something where like they specifically can't function the way that they used to function, whether it's emotionally, physically, intellectually, where it has affected it in such a way that there was a major life change based on their symptoms. 20%. And then again, there are varying degrees of that. So most often women are very often silently kind of suffering because they're not sure what to do. And then they turn to either something extreme where they're specifically restricting calories or some type of extreme workout plan, or they've just determined like, this is a thing that will help. So I'm going to do this right to the extreme. And most often without a comprehensive, like individualized plan, they're just going to end up more frustrated.
And I'm sorry, but you can't get that through the doctor. The doctor is
Right.
not going to do that for you.
Not a traditional, right.
Right.
So a functional medicine doctor who specializes in menopause, yes, that is what you're going to get, or some type of nutritionist or a naturopathic doctor or somebody else that does specialize in that. Now you're talking about individualized care, the right testing, and the right plan to move forward so they have the information. For me personally, in my practice, information is key. So not only that I obtain the right information to help each person as an individual, but that I then relay that information in a way that they can understand it. And I'll say, okay, so here's what alcohol used to do in your body, and here's what's happening now. Or, protein or anything else that we need to alter based on you had this much estrogen, now you have this much estrogen, and here's what's lacking now. Here's what that estrogen was doing for you. Most often, it's the first sign that a woman's like, what's happening? What's going on? They might go to their primary doc one year, their cholesterol is fine, no issues. The next year, they show up, they're like, I haven't changed anything. I eat the same, I work out the same, and now the doctor's like, we need to talk about putting you on a statin. She's like, I don't understand what happened.
I learned that cholesterol and estrogen and stuff were related.
Right, so estrogen is helpful in moving out excess LDL cholesterol. So that's our bad cholesterol. I mean, we still need some, but it's our bad cholesterol. And so when you see that drop in estrogen, you're going to see that LDL go up. And so that's one of the most frustrating things, as the woman says, I don't understand how I've gained 10 pounds. Why does my doctor want to put me on a statin? I'm eating and drinking and exercising the same like I always have been. What is the problem?
Yeah, I prefer not to take any medication if I don't have to.
Yes, bravo.
Yes. I mean, I take my thyroid medicine, but other than that, I
Yeah, that's good.
My doctor's very progressive, and he would not likely put me on a statin unless it was for sure something that I had to do because it was dangerous or
Right.
something. But yeah, he's pretty progressive. I hear everything you're saying, and I still sit here as someone who went through this and thought there's just still, like, it's so frustrating because I know it's getting better, and doctors are getting better, and then you have people like yourself to reach out to, but still so many women are just so lost when it comes to this subject.
Yeah, I see quite a few that come through my practice actually, and it does break my heart because they show up and they're just 3 minutes in, they're already in tears, right? When I'm like, talk to me about your symptoms and talk to me about what's going on. Just that question alone will cause them to break into tears because number one, they don't know where to start. They know they've felt horrible.
Well, somebody's actually going to
And
maybe
someone's
listen
asking.
to. Well, they're going to listen.
Right.
Well, hopefully, yeah, they're going to listen. Where most people don't listen.
Right.
Or your friends try to solve it. This is what I did.
Right. So it is common for both friends and potentially spouses to say like, oh my gosh, just relax and like have a cocktail and like it's like going to be fine. And right. And while it seems like harmless advice, it's not. That's going to exacerbate the problem. It's going to perpetuate the problems to continue. So there's a lot of challenges to it. But I'm grateful that the information is available. But you're right, finding the right practitioner to work with, that can pose a challenge, a hurdle for sure.
It does. I just remember one of my girlfriends, male doctor. He's like, you're just going through menopause. Like, it's just nothing. And I was like, yeah, I think I find a new doctor because It is something. And we really don't know what's going on in our body, and we are gaining weight, or we're snapping at someone, or we're just crying to cry, or we're all of a sudden, just dripping with sweat. Right. And we're not even talking about some of the other things that happen in body. Those are just most common things that you hear people talk about. It could be that your brain, like menopause brain, is like you're so foggy, like you're like, what? I don't know what's going on.
Right. Why did I walk into this room? Why are my keys in the fridge? Like what?
Yeah.
Right.
And imagine being that person who's foggy, who goes to work and can't function.
That's what I mean. Right. So there's a range of symptoms and there's a range in the severity of symptoms. So it's a very real issue for a lot of women. And most of them are finding ways to self-medicate because that's because of where their life is in that season, because they just don't have the time. They're not used to focusing on themselves.
So you're a nutritionist.
Yes.
And how would you, and we're talking about food because you talk about whole and nutritious foods. What foods would help you through that process?
Yes. So your new friend should be phytoestrogens.
What's that?
Phytoestrogens. So phyto meaning plant. All plants are going to have an array of compounds. I mean, thousands of compounds, and some of them we understand what they do, and some of them we don't yet. But phytoestrogens would be the plant estrogen, and it's considered a type B estrogen. So there's type A estrogens and there's type B.
Are you talking about soy?
So soy is a good example, but it's also in things like chickpeas and black beans and ground flax and sweet potatoes. And so there's estrogen on all plants. It's just varying amounts, right? So learning where those are, and typically when you're increasing your phytoestrogens, you're simultaneously reducing your saturated fat. Because if you're increasing all these plant foods, you've increased your fiber, you're likely reducing your saturated fat. Because you're not getting it in things like dairy or animals. That type of estrogen would be type A estrogen. Type B estrogen now becomes your friend when you're in menopause, for sure. Because we have to be careful the amount of type A exposure.
On the episode we talked about before, we were talking about no eggs and so what do you eat?
I'm laughing because I get this question so often. And my response is, I eat a ton, and nobody loves food more than me, for sure. Love, love, love food. So whole living foods. As much living foods as I can, meaning there's no ingredients for me to look at.
Okay.
Right?
So there's no ingredients in eggs.
It's true. And I didn't say no eggs. They just happen to be, I don't want to say the word, but mucus burn. So that's, sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't promise to not say the word. So it doesn't necessarily have to be all organic, right? So we know that if you are buying organic foods or organic produce, certainly you're going to have less exposure to things like fungicides, herbicides, pesticides,
Really?
all of that. You're going to have less. You're not going to have none.
Who regulates them, though?
Well, in order to get the certification and stuff, you have to go through quite a bit of red tape in order to be able to slap on that certified organic label. So it is better. There's also the EWG, so the Environmental Working Group. It's a nonprofit organization, so EWG.org. Every year they put out their Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen list. So they're testing all conventional produce to see which ones, if you wash it, are you getting rid of most of the pesticides, herbicides, fungicides versus others that you don't wash? How bad is it? Yeah. You got my cookbook and you want to say what it is
I'm not going to ask. I'm not going to ask just
what
yet.
It is I wasn't.
When you were talking, I was going to look up a recipe. So,
okay.
So if I'm of a certain age going through menopause, I want to go with plant-based.
More plants. Lots more plants. Right.
So
lots more plants. And I have to say this is one of the challenges, is that when people are like, okay, I have to eat healthy, that's going to be super expensive. And the reason they think it's going to be expensive is because they go to the store and they start looking at everything that says gluten-free, organic, and they're just trying to replace every product they already have, like organic Doritos, with their regular Doritos. And that's very deceptive. Just because something says organic or gluten-free or dairy-free
doesn't mean it's healthy.
Doesn't mean it's healthy. So we have to be very careful with that. So the fewest ingredients on a label as possible is a healthier way to go, and things that don't need a label.
They have organic Doritos? I'm stuck right there.
Yes.
Organic Doritos.
I don't know if they still exist, but last year they did. So that
Doritos.
kind of stuff makes me cringe because someone's like, oh, this is a better option.
Right.
That's going to be expensive. That bag of organic Doritos is $6. Go get a bag of apples. Right. Okay. So anyway.
I know, but that apple isn't as good as the Doritos.
Well, now let's be fair. So your taste bud cells only have about a lifespan of about 14 days.
Okay. So what does that mean?
So your cells, just like other cells, are going to die off and new cells take their place. So the more you're training your palate, right, to start eating these other foods, a couple of things are happening. First of all, when you switch to clean eating foods, right? So real food. Food that's still food, hasn't been overly processed. You're cleansing the inside of your mouth. So you're cleaning out the film that's on your tongue, the roof of your mouth, the insides of your cheeks. There's a film that's created when you are eating processed stuff. And you're not really tasting food anymore. So when you start putting in whole living foods, which is one of the reasons why I start every client with an individualized, customized smoothie that they're having every day. It's different for every client based on what they're presenting. There is a smoothie recipe in there. You could use that too. But essentially, you're cleaning that out. So you're tasting foods again how you should be tasting them. And over time, you're retraining your palate to enjoy something like a date is going to taste like candy, or dried figs is going to taste so sweet, versus drinking a soda pop. You'll be able to taste it in a different way. And you'll be like, oh, no, that tastes like chemicals to me. It doesn't taste sweet anymore. This doesn't taste good. So you're saying an apple doesn't taste as good as Doritos. And I would say, give me a minute, because you won't think that for very long.
Nacho cheesy flavor, Yeah.
Should we talk about rosacea some more with your
nacho cheese?
cheese?
Oh, God, not my rosacea again. No.
You're too much fun, Paula. You're too much fun.
Okay, so you have a cookbook. So I have your cookbook. And honestly, I listen to you and I'm like, you have to be close to perfect. Do you ever have a glass of wine?
I'm not. Not on this side of heaven. You can't achieve perfection. So no, I'm not perfect. Wine specifically. So I did give up alcohol in 2020. So when everyone was at home and they're like, what do? We drink. I was like, we need to stop this. I did stop drinking in 2020. It did coincide with my perimenopause state. So in order for me to continue the health trend the standard of living in regards to my health, the standard that I had for myself, I no longer could incorporate alcohol as I could have in my 20s and my early 30s. Because once I got into perimenopause, it functioned differently and it brought on an array of symptoms. And I was like, this isn't serving me well anymore. This has to go. So it's a choice. It's not that I can't have alcohol. I can have it if I choose. I also know what that's going to look like and feel like as I'm consuming it and the next day.
Yes, rosacea. I already know that one.
It's not how it manifests on me, but right.
Yeah, rosacea brings it right out the next day.
So no, I'm not. It's not perfect. I'm not perfect. It's not perfect. That's not even the goal, to be honest with you. Two terms that I like my clients to learn is nutritarian. So nutritarian is kind of what you establish at home. The most nutrient-dense way to fill your kitchen, your pantry, your fridge, your freezer. A qualitarian means you're going to try to put the highest quality ingredients on your plate when you're out. Because I can't control all the factors once I leave the house and I need to eat. Do I carry a lot of food with me if I'm traveling? Yes, I do, or I figure out a way to do it. But you become a qualitarian, meaning life is going to happen. I'm not going to stop going to a friend's house or an event or a restaurant because I'm like, they're not going to have the exact right food I want to put in my mouth. That's not living, and that's not a healthy relationship with food. So a nutritarian at home, that's your healthy, safe haven, and a qualitarian when you're away from home.
Quick question. We're going out to dinner.
Okay.
Where are we going to go? Let's go to Joe Mears.
Okay.
You're buying. What are you ordering?
Okay, so I go for a fiber focus. That's what I tell clients. When you're in a restaurant, you go on a fiber hunt, meaning you're perusing the menu. You're looking for the fiber. So the fiber is going to be leafy greens, veggies, any type of whole grain that's available, any type of beans that might be available, right? So maybe they have a hummus platter to start. We found fiber. Okay, let's go with that, right? Versus a fried chicken wing as an appetizer or a mozzarella stick.
I guess you've never been to Joe Mears because I don't think they have chicken wings.
Okay, well, I was just trying to think of something that wouldn't have fiber versus something that has fiber. Artichoke dip. Now, that is going to be loaded typically with dairy, but artichokes are a prebiotic food loaded with fiber. Okay, so you essentially go on the fiber hunt and you see where's all the fiber that I can put on my plate, right? Versus, say, you're right, I'm not necessarily familiar with that restaurant, but my steak itself is not going to have the fiber that I desire, or a mac and cheese.
So we can have a steak.
Sure, it also matters the order by which you eat that. So there's a whole method of food sequencing that works really well. I teach my clients, especially if we're trying to lower weight or any metabolic factors. So if you're trying to reduce your LDL cholesterol, blood sugar, again, the order of which you're eating the foods. Typically what happens when you go to a restaurant, you order your cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
So that means already you've put the sugar in first.
Right.
That's backwards.
Put
That
the
needs
sugar
to
at the
happen
end?
last. Correct.
So it's
Fiber
good to
needs
have
go
dessert?
first. Is it good to have dessert? If
It's
you're
the
going to
sugar.
have dessert,
Okay.
obviously it's happening last. And I always say choose one. So if you're in the restaurant and you're like,
People
"They have
choose more than one?"
They have really great, no. Choose one in this category.
Oh,
If
okay.
you want your cocktail, that's the one. And it happens at the end. Or maybe you want dessert. Say you went to Cheesecake Factory and they have incredible cheesecakes. You choose that one. You have that for dessert. Or maybe you want the bread. You pick one, right? You have one. You go on the fiber hunt. You find you want the extra side of veggies. You definitely get a dinner salad or split an entree salad with somebody. You find the appetizer that has the fiber. All the fiber goes in first. You have your reasonable portion of meat, 4 to 5 ounces. The rest of it take home with you for tomorrow. And then if you're having your category 3, your after dinner drink or a dessert, or you really wanted that bread so you saved it till the end, that's a way that you can food sequence. So you're actually going to absorb less saturated fat through food sequencing. More of it's going to move out through your stool if you food sequence that way. So it's a great tool.
Yeah, that's
So lots of tools, lots of tricks, lots of tools you can have that you can employ situationally.
And likely, if you've had the appetizers and the main meal, most people opt not for dessert.
Right, if it's loaded with fiber. If you've just had a big salt bomb, or lots of added sugars based on what you ordered, right? Started with bread, started with tortilla chips, you will just keep eating because it suppresses your full hormones. Fiber stimulates that GLP-1. So the GLP-1 that everyone's very excited to try and is going to be the answer to all their prayers, fiber is going to do the same thing. It's going to stimulate the production of that full hormone.
Yeah, but the GLP-1 doesn't make you have to be conscious.
That's true. That's true. So clearly I would rather have a focus on food.
Right. Well, I don't know that you can be on those drugs for the rest of your life anyway. And it makes you not hungry, from what I understand. So you're not giving your body enough nutrition.
Right. That's one of the number one challenges is that you become nutrient depleted pretty quickly. Because
And then that means your muscles a lot of times you're using muscle instead of fat.
Correct. So right now, statistically speaking, it's about 40% of the weight that's lost on these types of medications is muscle tissue. So the challenge is once you go off the medication and the weight comes back on, which again, statistically it does because you don't learn a new way of eating when you're on the medication, you are going to gain the fat back. And so you actually start out less healthy than you were when you started the medication because you lost muscle.
Well, none of that sounds good.
Right.
That doesn't sound
and
good.
it increases your risk for thyroid cancer and pancreatic cancer. So not a great option unless it is the thing that's going to save your life. It's if a life-threatening situation and it's a GLP medication or potentially death, great. It's a great life-saving tool. If you're trying to lose 10 pounds, we should have a conversation about fiber.
Well, we are Americans and we often look for the easy way out.
We do.
And that's the easy way out.
Right.
Yeah. And you can still eat whatever you want to eat as much as your stomach will hold, but you don't have to learn.
It's very small amounts because there's typically continuous nausea, sometimes, vomiting. Yeah. And 20% of the time it doesn't work at all. So plus there's the cost and so a lot of challenges there.
So the best thing is just to eat whole, nutritious food, and maybe buy your cookbook.
And it's a good tool. It's a helpful tool. I didn't go to culinary school, so it's not for a professional chef. It's for the regular home cook. Each recipe is only one page. You're not going to have to get through multiple pages. There's a picture, so you know what it should look like when you're done, or something close to, right?
Might never look close at all, ever.
Well, that's okay.
Never.
I'm sure you still eat it when you're done.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, still tastes delicious.
Good.
But we got to go. That was
it
a
was
quick
fun.
time. That was a quick time.
It was fun.
We'll have to have you back again.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I look forward to it.
So thank you, Valerie. So you can get Valerie's information in the show notes. And I'm Paula Swain. This is Unstoppable. Thank you.
Thanks for watching Unstoppable. Do you have a question for Paula? Send it our way. To schedule a one-on-one consultation, give us a call. Unstoppable is brought to you by Paula Swain and the Financial Center for Women. Dream, grow, thrive.